The city was loud beneath them, a restless ocean of headlights and sirens, but the rooftop felt like another world. Concrete still warm from the sun, wind cutting through the space between buildings, and the sky stretched wide enough to hold everything they had been too afraid to say. Maya leaned into Daniel as if her bones were tired of carrying her alone. They had met 3 years earlier in a place neither of them wanted to be. A hospital waiting room that smelled like antiseptic and burnt coffee, where time dragged and fear sat heavy in every chair. Maya was there for her mother, Daniel for his younger brother. They didn't speak at first. They just shared the same silence, the same vending machine snacks, the same exhaustion that comes from hoping too hard. It was Daniel who finally broke the quiet. He asked her the time, even though the clock was right above them. Maya answered anyway. That small lie of a question became the beginning of everything. From the start, they felt familiar to each other, like two people who had been fighting separate storms but recognized the same kind of damage. They talked about movies they barely remembered watching, about food they missed eating without guilt, about the strange way life keeps moving even when yours feels paused. When visiting hours ended, Daniel walked Maya to her car. He didn't ask for her number. He just said, "I hope tomorrow is lighter." Tomorrow didn't get lighter. Not for a long time. Her mother passed away 3 months later. Daniel's brother survived, but the debt and trauma lingered like an unpaid bill that followed them everywhere. Somehow, through that grief, they found each other again. Coffee turned into long walks. Long walks turned into nights sitting on rooftops like this one, sharing stories with the stars because it was easier than saying them out loud in daylight. Maya loved fiercely, but she carried fear like a second spine. She had watched love disappear into a hospital bed once already, and her heart never forgot the sound of machines going silent. So even as she fell for Daniel, she held parts of herself back, convinced that if she didn't lean all the way in, the fall wouldn't hurt as much. Daniel noticed. He noticed the way she pulled away when things felt too good. How she joked whenever conversations got too serious. How she flinched at the future, even simple plans like next summer or next year. He had his own walls. Growing up, responsibility found him too early. He had learned to be strong instead of vulnerable, practical instead of hopeful. Loving Maya scared him because she made him want things he had never allowed himself to want. Peace. Joy. A life not defined by survival. Their first real challenge came quietly. Not with a fight, but with distance. Maya started working longer hours, saying she needed the distraction. Daniel supported her, or told himself he did, even when days passed without more than a tired text. When he finally asked if something was wrong, she said she was fine. She always said she was fine. Until one night she didn't. They were in Daniel's apartment, rain tapping against the windows, the room smelling like leftover soup and damp clothes. She sat on the edge of the couch, eyes fixed on the floor. When Daniel reached for her hand, she didn't pull away, but she didn't squeeze back either. "I don't know how to do this," she said softly. "Do what?" he asked. "Stay," she replied. Without waiting for it to end. Her voice cracked then, and everything she had held back poured out. Her fear of losing him. Her fear of needing him too much. Her guilt for surviving when her mother hadn't. She talked until words failed her, until she was shaking with the weight of everything she had never said. Daniel listened. He didn't interrupt. He didn't try to fix it. When she was done, he rested his forehead against hers and said, "I'm not asking you to promise forever. I'm just asking you not to run from now." She nodded, tears soaking his shirt. For a while, that was enough. Life tested them again when Daniel lost his job. The company downsized, and just like that, his carefully balanced world tipped. Bills stacked up. His brother needed help again. Daniel withdrew, embarrassed by his fear of failing, convinced Maya deserved someone more stable, more certain. This time, Maya was the one who refused to let go. She showed up with groceries when he said he was fine. She reminded him of every small victory he had ever dismissed. When he tried to push her away with silence, she met it with presence. "You don't have to be strong all the time," she told him one night as he stared at the ceiling, sleepless. "You're allowed to rest. I've got you." Still, the pressure wore on them. Stress turned small disagreements into sharp edges. There were nights they went to bed angry, backs turned, wondering if love was supposed to feel this hard. The breaking point came on the rooftop. It was the same place where everything felt lighter once, but that night the air was heavy. Maya had received an offer to move to another city for work. A promotion. A chance to start over somewhere her grief couldn't follow her as closely. She told Daniel with practiced calm, already braced for loss. "I think I should go," she said. "It's a good opportunity." Daniel nodded slowly, even as something inside him cracked. He wanted to ask her to stay, but fear wrapped around his throat. He was still unemployed, still figuring things out. How could he ask her to tie herself to his uncertainty? They stood there in silence until Maya sank down, exhaustion finally overtaking fear. She leaned into him, eyes closing, and that was when she said it. Half asleep. Half pleading. "If I fall asleep here, don't let me go." Daniel felt the weight of the moment like a choice he couldn't avoid anymore. He held her waist, steadying both of them, and whispered, "I won't." That was the first promise he had ever made without conditions. They talked until dawn. About the move. About their fears. About the truth they had both been avoiding. Love wasn't the absence of risk. It was the decision to stay, even when staying scared you. Maya didn't move away. Not because she was afraid to leave, but because she realized running wouldn't heal her. Daniel found work, not immediately, not easily, but he did. They learned how to argue without tearing each other down. How to rest without guilt. How to hold space for grief without letting it define them. Years later, they returned to the rooftop, older, steadier, still imperfect. The city hummed below them like it always had. Maya smiled, resting her head against Daniel's chest. "Remember when I told you not to let me go?" He kissed the top of her head. "I remember choosing you." And that was the lesson they carried forward. Love isn't about holding on so tightly you forget how to breathe. It's about choosing, again and again, to stand still together when the world tells you to run.